With Wrath of the Lich King quickly approaching, a lot of people's rotation on their classes is going to get a lot more complicated. Gone are the days of one button spam as a Warlock. Instead, what we're going to have now is Rep Paladins pressing one button and doing a full rotation. You'll know what I'm talking about if you've seen my video from like 2 days ago. But in general, most classes do have a little bit more of a rotation now, so you might need some assistance. I've been reached out numerous times by, I'm gonna call him out, Waylay. He jumps on the stream, he jumps on video comments, he messages me on Discord. He's really wanted me to make a video about this add-on. So I've sat today and played around with it, and actually, it's pretty good. I'll be completely honest with you, it only really does what weak auras does, but probably a lot easier to use, but with the same amount of flexibility, so the same amount of customization, and you can pretty much make it look how you want, especially if you pair it with something like Bartender. So I'm going to log on a couple of low-level characters and just show you how it works. I'll put a link to the download from CurseForge in the description below so you can go and check it out and play about with it yourself. I would say most classes don't really need this at the moment in TBC, but it will be very, very useful for some of you in Wrath of the Lich King. So I'm here on my 25 Warlock, and as you can see, I've got Shadow Bolt, Immolate, Corruption, and Curse of Agony. Now, these may look a little bit like I've set weak auras up like I do on lots of my classes where I have the icons quite big for the primary abilities that I use. But actually, all it is Bartender. I've just got a single bar up there that I've scaled up and just made it a bit bigger with just 4 buttons. We can remove the padding as well, so it brings the buttons a bit closer together, but, you know, ultimately, you can do it however you want. And this does work with just standard Blizzard bars as well, so you don't need Bartender, you don't need Dominoes, you don't need LVUI, you don't need any of that, but it will work with all of them. But you could just use the standard Blizzard bars if that's what you want to do. So now, if I just find a mob to kill, you'll see exactly what this add-on does. So at the moment, it's telling me to press Immolate, so I'll press Immolate. Then as soon as Immolate's gone off, it wants me to Corruption. Then as soon as Corruption goes off, it wants me to Curse of Agony. Now it's telling me just to spam Shadow Bolt. Now the rotation isn't set in stone, as in this is what it will tell a Warlock to do. I have done this myself. So on every class that you set this up on, you can obviously set up exactly how you want the rotation to be. So let's say you've just gone on Wowhead and you've tried to find a generic guide of how to play your class, and it says, always keep up Immolate, always keep up Corruption, always keep up Curse of Agony, and then spam Shadow Bolt. You can set that up exactly like that in here. Or if it was like always refresh Corruption when there's 2 seconds left, you can set that up in here. Let me show you how it works. So if we go to Rotation Master, which is what it's called, you can see for this particular character, so you can obviously set up lots of different profiles. I'm just using the default profile at the moment. And you can import and export all of these. So if you do one of these and make it look exactly how you want it and play absolutely perfect to your class, you could then export it and share it with a guildie, for example. So if we start here, you can see this is the effect that I like, which is the glow. You can have ping, star, starburst. So I'll just show you what a few of these look like. So ping is just like a circle around it. I don't think that's really clear enough. I mean, it's all right, and it don't look too bad on the sort of default bars, if you like. But over the top of Bartender, I just don't think it looks very clear. So you can play about with this yourself. I personally just like glow, because I think glow looks really nice. And what you'll see is it actually shows it up before the global cooldown finishes. So if you're going straight from, like I did there, Corruption into Immolate, just as Immolate hits, I'm still on GCD and it's already telling me to Shadow Bolt. So you're not wasting time. So if we go back into the settings, so how I've done this is literally I've got Immolate and I've got it set to only want me to use Immolate when it's not on the target. Same for Corruption, same for Curse of Agony, and then I've got Shadow Bolt as just a filler. So it's got no conditions. As long as all the conditions are met on 1, 2, and 3, then obviously it will go straight to Shadow Bolt. If I put Shadow Bolt at the top, so it's the only spell there is, because there's no condition here, it's only going to make me Shadow Bolt. It's never ever going to get to step 2. So that's why I've got Shadow Bolt at the bottom, so it will get all of these on cooldown first, or ticking on the mobs, should I say, and then obviously it goes to Shadow Bolt in spam. Now you could add cooldowns in here as well. Obviously I'm only level 25, so I haven't got many abilities. But, you know, you can literally add what you want. So now let me log on my Paladin and we'll set a few up together so you can see exactly what the options look like and how it works. So now I'm on my Paladin. Once again, we'll just go in and we'll open Rotation Master. Now on the Rep Paladin, we're going to say we want to use Consecrate on cooldown. We always want to have Seal of Righteousness up. We always want a Judgment. We want a Judgment on cooldown, and we want a Crusader Strike on cooldown. So let's just add some things in. So we're going to add a spell and we're going to add Crusader Strike. That's it. That's done. So it's going to use it whenever it's available. Now we can add another one in, we'll add a spell, and we'll add Consecrate. By no means is this how you play a Paladin, I'm just demonstrating for you. So we'll add Seal of Righteous, and we'll move this to the top, because we know we always want Seal of Righteousness up, and we will get into the actual conditions in a minute as well. And now let's just add Judgment, and that's it. So we know we're going to always have Seal of Righteousness up, we're going to Crusader Strike on cooldown, we're going to Consecrate on cooldown, and we're going to Judgment on cooldown. So now straight away you can actually see Crusader Strike has got the nice glow effect around it because it's wanting me to actually press it. It's a bit small down there, so I don't particularly like it like that. So what I would do is add a new bar. This is now obviously in Bartender. We only added 4 abilities, so we'll say these 4 abilities are our main sort of rotation for now. So we'll just have 4 buttons, we'll have no padding so they sit nicely together, and then we'll just make the scale a lot bigger. Now this isn't going to be perfect, so just ignore all my buttons down there for now. But we'll put in Crusader Strike, we'll put in Judgment, we'll put in Seal of Righteousness. Obviously, I should really be using Command. We'll do Righteousness just for example purposes. And we'll put in Consecrate. So now we've got sort of our bars that we're, our main things that we're going to be using. So if we now go back into the actual add-on itself, we now need to add sort of conditions to when we're going to use these things. So now here's all the options. So, different combat things. So have pet name, point, shapeshift form. Lots of different options that you can pick. Spells, by spell available, spell in range, spell cooldown, all of those sorts of things. And then buffs, so debuff present, buff present, all of that. So what I use a lot is not. So when you pick not and or, these are obviously then going to ask you for something else. So if we put not, for example, now it's saying not what? What is it not? That sounded really awkward. So when we go into the settings, we want to select not. So we're saying that the buff is not present. And the buff that is not present, we're going into here and going buffs, buff present. Click buff present, say no, it's not, and it's Seal of Righteousness. So if Seal of Righteousness is not on us, it will tell us to cast it. Then next down for Judgment, all we're literally going to do is just leave Judgment as it is, leave Crusader Strike as it is, and use Consecration as it is. So it will then just use them rotationally in that order. So we'll go Judgment first, into a Crusader Strike, into Consecration. It's then going to go back and check for Seal of Righteousness. Assuming that's all right, it's going to get us to use whatever's ready. So after a little bit of fiddling around, we'll just go in, we'll just put Seal of Righteousness up. So it's telling us to now Judgment. So we'll use Judgment on the pool, back into a Seal of Righteousness, into a Crusader Strike, into Consecrate. Now it knows we've got nothing that we can do at the moment, so it's just going to wait. Judgment's back up, Seal of Righteousness, into Crusader Strike. It's now just doing the rotation exactly as we've set out. One thing I will mention is because I'm only using the bar at the top as a display more than anything else. You can have your keybinds as it, absolutely. But for some reason with the Paladin, I didn't have this problem with a Warlock, so I just want to be completely honest and let you know the troubles that I've been having while making this video is it keeps just trying to track rank 1. So I've put in just rank 1 of everything here, Seal of Righteousness and Consecration, but obviously my max ranks are actually down in my bars that I'm sort of pressing on. But if I show you here how we've actually made all this come together, obviously if we go to like the edit on Judgment, we've just put spell available. So if you go here and you look at spells, so spell available and then Judgment. So whenever the spell is available, which is Judgment, it will try and use it. Done exactly the same thing for Crusader Strike, so we've just added a spell available, condition, and then the same for Consecrate. So if I show you like on Consecration, when I actually select rank and then type in Consecration, it only does find 1 rank, which is a bit strange. Now, one thing you might notice is when you try and set the rank, so you'll have it on your bar and it's not flashing, and you'll be like, you don't know why, because it's not showing multiple ranks in the drop-down menu. I'll show you how you get around that. So if you look up here, these are actually max rank, Consecrate, Righteousness, these are all max rank abilities. And it took me a while to actually figure this one out. But when you're actually on here, once you put in what you want to track, so let's say we also want to use, let's say we want to use Hammer of Justice on cooldown for no reason whatsoever. If we then go into the spellbook here, we can actually drag Hammer of Justice on there once we've selected spell, and now it will be the max rank Hammer of Justice that is tracking. So then if we was to go into edit and then we went please choose and we want to just use it when it's available, you can then do exactly the same thing again here and just drag it in. And then press OK. So now, if you look down here at Hammer of Justice, when we go into the mob and we get all of our stuff ready and all on cooldown, so we'll go into that. We've got Righteousness back up, Crusader Strike into Consecrate. And then, like you can see here, now Hammer of Justice is glowing because everything else is on cooldown, but it is still prioritizing everything else. Let me just show you on one more mob over here. So we'll go in. It wants us to Judgment, into Righteousness, into a Crusader Strike, get our Consecrate down. Now it wants us to stun. with Hammer of Justice, and then just everything else carries on as normal. Now, the cool thing about this is if you've got like your loose rotation in, so like the Warlock one keeping your dots up spamming Shadow Bolt, if someone turns around and says, did you know it's actually a DPS increase to Corruption before Immolate? It's easily solved. Just before we switch over to the Warlock, actually, one other thing that's worth mentioning is the other add-on that really makes this really, really good is Omni CC. So if you don't use Omni CC, it puts the cooldown timers on the bars. So actually, when you look at this as it is right now, in like a couple of minutes that it's taken to set up, you could confuse it for weak auras quite easily, because when we go in, you can see it's showing the Judgment cooldown, it's showing the Crusader Strike cooldown, it's showing the Consecration cooldown. It might seem basic, but it's actually really, really cool. And once you get used to it, it's not that bad. So back to the Warlock. Like I was saying, if for some reason the rotation changes, or, you know, some theory crafters say, no, actually, you don't want to be immolating on the pool, you want to be using Corruption on the pool, you can change your whole rotation literally by realigning things. So we've just put Corruption up on top now. Maybe let's put Curse of Agony above Immolate. So now it will change the order completely just by having a click around. So like you can see, now it wants us to Corruption first. So we'll Corruption first, then it should be Agony next. Oh, but that, I've never had it targeted. Yeah, then Agony next, then Immolate, and then it's going to get a Shadow Bolt in. So you can very quickly change your rotation around on the fly, which I think is pretty cool, actually. And that's it, basically. So Waylay actually wants me to do one of these like setups for each different spec. So how I would set up, yeah, each spec in its own video. You know, a 5-minute video on the rotations in Wrath and how I would have all of this add-on set up, maybe even export it and put it in the description so you can just then literally copy it. If you think that's a good idea for a video series, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you on the next one. Oh, actually, roll the outro. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Yeah, bye. There's lots of ways you can support the channel to keep me here putting out World of Warcraft content and covering all future MMOs. Consider joining the channel as a member. You get access to emotes, everyone will know you're a member when you comment on future videos because you get a nice icon next to your name, and you get access to members-only videos, which I'll be putting a lot of on the channel throughout the year. Additionally, there's a Patreon link in the description as well. Thank you for watching all the way to the end, and I'll see you on the next one.